Good evening and welcome to your latest edition of the Oro Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. And another Raider game is in the books, but in the meantime, to my right, Jeremy McKenzie. To his right, Deion Cranford. No, I'm not going to give you some silly Raider nickname this time. But
all right.
But as we mentioned, another Raider game is in the books. Of course, it didn't go in our favor this time against number one team in the state, Wake Forest. Ended up losing 49-28. But Deion, you were actually there, so let's start with you. So obviously, defense was the problem more than offense, but is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair to say. I mean, I was completely backwards last week when I was talking because I was kind of on the other side of the fence with that. I wasn't sure what Wake Forest was going to bring to the table offensively, but they were really, really, really big on that offensive line. I mean, just really big, and they were just pushing our guys out of the way. They really killed us with the ground game. A lot of big rushing plays. All in all, I mean, overall, I don't think Richmond played that badly considering their opponent. It was a one-possession game in the fourth quarter, so you can't really – but when you give up 500 yards to a team, you're not going to win too many of those. And I think early on, I think had Richmond's defense kind of figured some things out early on, I think it might have been a different game, especially later on in the game. But the 35 points in the first half just really kind of hurt.
That's tough to come back from. Jeremy, what was your takeaway from Friday's game?
I think it is one of the things that, especially the defensive side of the ball, you give up over 514 offensive yards. I think that speaks volumes where it's got like, say, the defense got to have some work put on, which they approved down the stretch. And for its offensively, I see Caleb, even though Richmond took a loss, Caleb had a nice game. Again, Bobby Terry had a nice game. I think these receivers are doing the work, especially in Malik Stanback's absence. Will step up. But at the same time, this ground game got to get going.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think, you mentioned their offensive line being so big. Do you think that was the maybe deciding factor as to why our defense wasn't able to push them around more?
I think the line on both sides was the deciding factor. I mean, Wake Forest on the line of scrimmage both ways the whole game. I'm not really putting our guys down. They played well, but you could tell that there was a lot more experience, a lot more talent, and a lot more size on that line of scrimmage both ways. Because even defensively, I mean, like he mentioned, Caleb had a good game, but our rushing game, we only had 68 yards rushing for the whole game. And that's when you attach that to Richmond, that just doesn't sound right. You know, I mean, it's like
I think we had in the first game of the year, we had one guy get that many yards, didn't we?
Yeah. So they couldn't move the ball on the ground. The good news is, they ran the ball just enough to keep Wake Forest defense honest, which allowed a lot of big plays in the passing game, and that's where Caleb shined. I mean, I think they had probably maybe 6 or 7 passes for over 20 yards. I mean, it was, they passed really, that Caleb and the receivers did a really good job. But, it's going to be, again, if we would have known last week that Richmond was going to give up 500 yards and only have 60 yards rushing, and it would still be a one-possession game in the fourth quarter, I mean, none of us would have believed that for a second. So, I mean, it just goes to show they did battle, and the passing game really kept them in it.
Now, I know towards the end of the game, Caleb threw an interception, right?
Yes.
Did that kind of turn the game around, or was it kind of getting out of hand at that point?
No,
already?
I mean, the game was pretty much over at that point. Wake Forest had already the final score had already been it was already 49-28 at that point. It was kind of more of a desperation thing. I don't think that's something that Caleb would have done in a normal, they were just trying to make something happen in those final seconds, but the game was pretty much over at that point.
And then my last question, as far as this past week's game, I also read that there were a lot of fourth downs that Wake Forest was able to capitalize on. I mean, what do you think, Jeremy? That's obviously something you've got to be able to stop Wake Forest or any team when it comes to being on fourth down, right?
because anytime if you can't stop a 4th and 1 or 4th and inches down plays, that's going to be a common factor down the stretch, because that could create opportunities for the opposing team to score, which that's going to create a lot of losses for your team.
Yeah, and obviously if you can't stop it the first time, they're probably going to keep trying, right?
Yeah.
Well, and probably one of the most pivotal points in the game was just before halftime. Wake Forest had the ball. It was a one-possession game. It was 28-21. Wake Forest had the ball, was driving down, and Richmond stopped them somewhere around maybe like 25, 30-yard line. It was 4th and 10.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
And, of course, there was only seconds left on the clock, and, of course, Wake decided to go for it because why not? And the defense actually got into the backfield, chased the quarterback around, and he just found a guy open. He just stayed alive long enough, and he converted that 4th and 10. And then, of course, Wake ended up scoring to go up 35-21 at the half. But that was a huge momentum thing there for Wake Forest. And it would have been easy for Richmond to kind of fold because they had to give Wake Forest the ball first in the second half. They dropped, they're down 2 possessions. They're going to have to give Wake the ball in the second half. It would have been easy to fold at that point, but then the Raider defense came out and got 3 straight stops in the second half. So it was just.
Well, that's obviously something they'll have to work on for next week, and we're going to get to the Pine Forest game here in just a second. But I've got another question for you, something that I wonder year after year, because Dion, you and I go to quite a few JV games, and the JV team beat the same Wake Forest JV team rather handedly last Thursday. Why is it we see the JV squad dominate these teams, or at least beat them, and then the same kids move up and beat us in return on varsity level?
Well, it's not this. It's not always the same kids. I mean, you got to think. When you got guys like, I mean, when you're starting freshmen and sophomores like Richmond does, those guys, many of them never even played on the JV team, so
Right.
it doesn't always translate. Plus, if we were to take the entire Richmond JV team from last year and the entire Wake JV team from last year and bring them up, and it was the same combination of players, but I mean, there's going to be a lot of returning talent on varsity, and so you're going to have different combinations of players. I don't think, and again, I think that is starting to translate a little bit better for Richmond because I do expect Richmond to be quite good next year.
Yeah.
And with what Richmond has now on varsity and any holes that are going to need to be filled in by this JV team, I think it will translate. But it's never the exact same combination, so it's not going to play out just.
All right. Well, looking forward. So tomorrow night's game against Pine Forest, we're back home. I know we beat Pine Forest last year again rather handedly.
Yeah.
You see any problems painting them tomorrow night?
No, I think this is going to be this is where Richmond will redeem themselves off this loss against Wake Forest. They're going to come out, do what they need to do, throw the ball if they have to, run it if they have to run it, play good defense. I see Richmond have a blowout on this one.
What do you think, Dion? Wake to Pine. Which Forest?
Well, the best thing coming out of last week's game is I believe that's the best defense we're going to see until the playoffs. So, I mean, I really do. And I know the Butler people are probably going, but, I mean, honestly, we won't see another defense that strong until the playoffs. So this week, I think there'll be a little more defensive resistance than we saw from Pine Forest last year. Pine Forest in their season opener this year against Pernell Sweat, they muffed the opening kickoff and gave up an early touchdown to Sweat. But since then, their starters haven't given up a touchdown.
Really?
They made it the rest of the way through Pernell Sweat. They made it, and then they shut out Concord last week. Now, again, those aren't the strongest opponents, but the defense is there, and they do seem to be performing well. So I'd like to see a little bit of defensive resistance to give our guys at least something to work with. I don't want to see, but I, like him, I think it's going to be over by halftime. But
Well, I hope you're right. I hope that they're running the clock by the time people come back with their popcorn and drinks. Hopefully that'll be the case. You guys are thinking it's going to be a Raider victory?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
All right. Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a situation where, you have the hype of last week, number 1 versus number 8 in the state, 2 teams that are, perennially really good in football. I don't want to say this is going to be a letdown game, but in an essence, that's kind of what it is, where you're coming against a team that you expect to win against, and I agree with you guys. I think that's what we're going to see. So I'll be looking forward to it. And, of course, RO Sports will definitely be there covering it, as well as JV tonight on the road against Pine Forest. Matter of fact, I'll be covering that. So
all right.
I'm going to be, of course, I didn't have to go because I'm here, but I'll definitely be getting up with Coach Hope later tonight and finding out how bad we beat them on the road on the JV squad. So hoping for victories all the way around from the Raiders. Dion, we appreciate you joining us again this week. We hope to have you back every week until the playoffs are over and we've won a state championship. So
that sounds good.
that's the
Yeah,
plan.
yeah.
And Jeremy, you'll be back as we're hitting college football when we come back.
Yeah.
We're taking picks for the first week, all the big games, because there are plenty of them. And we've got an exclusive interview with Clemson Tigers offensive lineman Sean Pollard, who, of course, played at Pinecrest. So
Nice.
stay tuned to that. We'll be right back at the RO Sports Show.
At Richmond Community College, we can prepare you for a high-skill, high-paying career in a variety of fields. From business to education, engineering, utilities, healthcare, criminal justice, information technology, and human services. At Richmond Community College, we can save you thousands of dollars on tuition through our university transfer programs that provide a seamless transition to universities and colleges throughout North Carolina. At Richmond Community College, we are always developing new courses and programs in response to the communities we serve. We offer day, evening, and online courses, and you can now complete 5 curriculum programs entirely online. At Richmond Community College, we believe in helping you prepare for a better life. Richmond Community College. Local college, big impact.
McNair Auto Sales is the place to buy your pre-owned car, truck, or van. To be the best, it takes big selection, friendly staff, and great pricing. We guarantee a no-hassle buying experience, and financing is available right on site. So come see us today. We're located at 1026 East Broad Avenue in Rockingham. And remember, with over 40 years of experience, you know McNair is the name you can trust.
And we're here with Sean Pollard, starting offensive lineman for the number 2 Clemson Tigers, joining the RO Sports Show. I really appreciate it, Sean. Now, of course, for those that don't know, here in the area, you played for Pinecrest Patriots. So I guess my first question for you is, what was it like going from playing for Pinecrest to playing on the offensive line of a national champion?
I mean, Coach Musgrove at Pinecrest definitely instilled a discipline that you have to be able to play at the Division I level, just how you have to have time management, how you're supposed to work, and how you're willing to work. So it was an easy transition in that part, but obviously once you get to the high level Division I, the athletes are better and stronger, so you just have to adapt, and that was probably the hardest aspect. Absolutely.
Now, probably a couple months ago, we interviewed one of your former line mates, Tyrone Crowder, who of course is from here in Richmond County, and one of the questions we asked him was, what's the atmosphere like at Clemson now that Dabo's created a winning culture there?
I mean, it's just a true family atmosphere. I know you hear that a lot, but like, it's literally every Wednesday we have family night. Our families, if they can make it, are willing to come drive. They can have dinner with us Wednesday nights. You always see the coaches' families around, and they truly care about you as a person, not just a player.
Now, I know that every year the goal is to win a national championship. You guys already have one of those in your pocket. But and I know this is a difficult question to answer, but what's it like to play on that stage and then to ultimately win one?
I mean, it's kind of surreal. Like, after we won, I kind of sit back and I looked around just in awe that the fact that we're on that stage and we did it. And that's kind of just once. Most people don't even experience one time, and we're hopefully going for multiple times. It's so hard to get back. Once you get there, you have to sit back and realize that, wow, it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get here, and just the fact that we won it was amazing.
Now, looking towards the upcoming season, obviously there's a lot of hype around your team, especially on the defensive front. Now, obviously that's your counterparts as far as on the ball, but is the hype worth what we're seeing on TV and hearing on the radio about that defensive line?
I think so. They definitely earn the hype. But at Clemson, we don't even read about it. We don't even worry about the hype. Those guys come to work every day just like everybody else does, and they work their tails off. They're usually the first ones in, last ones out, so they definitely deserve the hype.
And then I know it was recently talked about that Kelly Bryant's going to be the starting quarterback for you guys, at least to start the season. He's a quarterback, I guess, that can move if he needs to, doesn't necessarily do that all the time. Does that make it difficult, though, to block for him?
I mean, not really. If we do our job and keep him clean, he won't have to run around. He just stay in the pocket and do what he has to do. So we just take more pride in just keeping him clean. And if we're holding our blocks up and we're picking up what we're supposed to, it's going to be an easy day for him.
All right. And, of course, this may go without saying, but what's you guys' ultimate goal this year?
To be the best team we can. We have 5 team goals, and if we hit every one, we'll be successful at the end of the year.
All right, sounds good. Well, as myself being an ACC fan, I'm definitely pulling for you guys, although I have to say I'm a Tar Heel fan. However, we very rarely seem to play y'all, and probably that's a good thing for us. But, Sean, we really appreciate you joining us on the RO Sports Show.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
All right. Hayden Construction has 2 new homes under construction at 2 distinct locations, 125 Crystal Court in Carolina Hills and on Robberdale School Road. Both feature incredible floor plans and distinct features inside and out. Hayden Construction, quality, value, and beauty. Call Jamie Smart at 910-331-5811 or Nicole Hayden at 910-995-0717 today to schedule an appointment. Exit Realty, making dreams a reality.
At Richmond County Hospice, we strive to provide high-quality care to our patients and their families. Whether it's the incredible hospitality at the Haven House or from the comfort of your own home, you can count on Hospice to be there for you. We also offer monthly grief support groups, and our chaplain will be there to hold your hand in prayer. Through our amazing staff and our volunteers, Hospice has made difficult times easier for our community. Call the number on your screen if you feel that you or your loved one may benefit from our services. Richmond County Hospice. Peace, comfort, dignity.
And welcome back to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. Of course, we appreciate Sean Pollard doing that interview with us. It's kind of crazy to think that he, I asked him this during the interview, to go from playing at Pinecrest High School, which is not perennially a big football school. I mean, they've improved over the last few years, but to go from that atmosphere to Clemson, which is the upper echelon of D1, and playing on a starting offensive line is pretty cool, And, as I also mentioned when we interviewed his old line mate, Tyrone Crowder, it was the same thing. He said it's real surreal to be a part of that. But looking forward for Clemson real quick before we start looking at picks. Another question, that I asked him was talking about Kelly Bryant getting the starting gig under center over Trevor Lawrence, who was supposed to be they call him Touchdown Jesus with the long hair. But he was the top quarterback coming out of high school. Do you think Kelly Bryant keeps the quarterback job all year, or does he lose it before we end up with the season?
I don't know. I think Bryant might actually still keep it. I think
for the whole year.
Not the whole year. I think there could be situations where they actually use both quarterbacks and try to utilize their best abilities, kind of what Nick Saban might do with Alabama's quarterback situation. So. I think that's the smartest way to do it is use both quarterbacks to the best of their abilities.
All right, what do you think?
I think it's going to be the same situation where Kelly Bryant will start as the season progresses, but I also see where it could be a 2-quarterback system.
I think Kelly Bryant, he's really good. I don't think he makes it halfway through the season. Trevor Lawrence is one of those once-in-a-generation type talents from what I've been hearing and reading. And, of course, I've said it many times. I have a good buddy that is like diehard Clemson fan, follows everything that they do. And he's seen enough of this guy play. And like in the spring game, for instance, I understand that was the spring game. But nonetheless, Trevor Lawrence comes in. Kelly Bryant didn't do well in his turn under center. Trevor Lawrence comes in, throws a 50-yard bomb for a touchdown like it was nothing, just flicked it up there. And I think it's going to come a time now, obviously the first couple games, Clemson isn't going to have much resistance. But at some point, when they get into ACC play, I think we're going to end up seeing Trevor Lawrence under center. But, again, we appreciate Sean for giving us that interview on the RO Sports Show. Now, guys, college football is here.
Yeah.
So that means it's time to start making picks and time for us to start taking points on who's going to get the most right. So we're starting over. I know that you've been the king of making predictions so far, but we're starting a new season. So let's take a look at some of the picks. And the first game we want to look at is a big one here. It's Notre Dame versus Michigan. Now this is actually,
I don't know if you get bigger than that.
This is actually at Notre Dame, and these are both 2 ranked teams, which are most of the games that we're looking at this week are all ranked teams.
Yeah.
So let's just start out straight up. Who you got?
Well, I'm going to go with Michigan on this one. I say there's going to be a big upset down in South Bend, so I'm going to go for Michigan.
All right.
I'm going with Michigan. Go Coach Harbaugh.
All right, so Harbaugh finally got a quarterback now. He got Shea Patterson from Ole Miss to transfer. I don't care. It's not enough. I got Notre Dame at home. I think Notre Dame is kind of flying under the radar. They lost a couple guys off their offensive line, but that's what Notre Dame does is they just produce offensive linemen. So they won't miss a beat there.
We'll see if they can get a little lucky this year.
A little lucky. They're at home. Speaking of touchdown Jesus, I mean.
Is Brian Kelly still the head coach?
Yeah, that's a good point. But nonetheless, I expect to see Notre Dame come out of there as the victor. Now, I don't think it'll be by much. A touchdown, maybe a field goal. It's going to be a hard-fought game. Let me ask you guys this. I know you are taking Michigan. But if Harbaugh doesn't have a good year this year, is he gone?
I think more like he is.
To the NFL?
I think he'd go back to the NFL.
All right, what do you think, Russ?
I would think so. Michigan, and they might even fire him for it because he hasn't been keeping up the standards that Michigan expects. So, maybe even just simply fire him.
Oh, yeah. I definitely don't see a scenario where he quits, maybe. I could see one where they let him go or buy him out, that's how they do now. But which, to the point I was trying to make, is that just goes to show you how big and important this game is for Michigan. Because, look, Harbaugh has not done well against Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State, the Wisconsins, the teams that he's supposed to, they pay him to beat in the Big Ten. Now, obviously, Notre Dame's not in the Big Ten, although they play a few teams from there. But if he comes out of the gate and loses like I'm picking him to, that's not a good start for Harbaugh and company. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Now, another game, it's a huge one, I think even bigger because both of these are in the top 10. We've got Auburn versus Washington on a neutral site, pretty much in Auburn's backyard in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Who you got?
Well, I've been flip-flopping this one here, but I said preseason that I think Auburn was going to win out other than against Alabama and Georgia. I'm still going to stick with that, so I'm going with the Tigers.
All right.
I'm sticking with the Auburn Tigers. That defense.
Yeah, I hear you. But I'm going with that offense for the Huskies. I'm taking Washington. And I think when we did the Pac-12, a couple of your guys to watch, one was Jake Browning, their quarterback. The other one was Miles Gaskins, their running back. And I think that's going to be the difference. Jake Browning is a fourth-year senior, fourth-year starting quarterback. That's going to make the difference. I know Auburn, year after year, always has good defense. Washington's defense is not as good as it has been the last couple of years, but I think it's still going to stand out. Even in the SEC's backyard, I still got the Huskies pulling it out. Now, regarding this game, we've talked about this before. We've talked about this before. Hey, whatever. You guys are taking one, I'm taking the other, so somebody's going to be right. But regarding this game, I know we've talked about this before. If you guys are right and Auburn wins, is Washington already out of the CFP?
I
No.
still got them in at number 4.
Do you?
No.
But they have to go undefeated.
They have to go on the field
Yeah.
the rest of the way.
See, I'm of the thinking that if they don't beat Auburn, then they're already done. Even if they win undefeated the rest of the
It's
way.
week 1. Anybody can rebound from week 1. If they
Yeah.
go
And
the rest of
I
the
get
season.
that. I get that. But I just, for some reason, I just think there's going to come a chance where we might see what we did last year, where they take 2 SEC teams or perhaps 2 Big Ten teams. That could happen this year.
Like Georgia and Alabama.
Exactly, but maybe we see Ohio State and Penn State, or Ohio State and Wisconsin, or whatever the scenario may be, and they'll look back and say, or maybe, who knows, maybe Auburn and Alabama, all this will play out,
Yeah.
but maybe they look back
Yeah.
and see, well, I know that was in week 1, but Washington lost that game, and that was the deciding factor, even though it's so early. But
Yeah.
anyway, so let's get into a ACC team. So we got Miami versus LSU. One more time, 2 ranked teams. Russell, who you got?
Well,
I know who you got, because I know who you got.
Well, I mean, I love. I'm not gonna say love. Okay, I like the LSU Tigers a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with Miami. I still think they're gonna go a long way in this season.
Yeah, a really long way, as in the college football
Yeah.
playoff, right? All right.
I'm going with the U.
All right. Yeah, what is going on here? Like, I'm taking LSU. I don't think Miami's as good as people think they are. The turnover chain thing, the defense, I get it. But LSU against Miami, I just think that LSU's got the squad to put them down. And, I think the point I'm trying to make is that Miami, to me, is just overrated. And Clemson's going to be the team that ends up coming out of the ACC, man.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
No.
Or this team right here. But I don't know that that's going to happen. So.
That's basketball. That's a basketball.
Wait until spring.
yeah, let's wait for that. But moving on. So a team, Tennessee versus West Virginia. Now, Tennessee's not ranked, but maybe one of those teams is right on the outside of the top 25 looking in. West Virginia is ranked right there towards the end of the top 25. But Tennessee versus West Virginia, who you got?
Well, I think there's got a lot of potential this season for Tennessee. Normally, I wouldn't say something like that. The past couple seasons, I would not say that because they have not been anywhere. But
Yeah.
with Pruitt being the head coach, I think they've got some talent there, but I don't think it's going to be enough to win this week. So I'm going to go West Virginia.
Taking the Mountaineers. All right, who you got, Jimmy?
I'm taking the Tennessee Volunteers as an upset alert.
All right. Yeah, I think it would be an upset, especially as far as Vegas is concerned. West Virginia's like a 21-point favorite, I think I read. Now, I don't think it's going to be that bad, but I'm as well taking the Mountaineers. Look, Will Grier right now, I went through a list of Heisman hopefuls. He's number 1 on that list, so they're expecting big things from that offense. Him throwing to David Sills V. I mean, this guy was tied last year with the most touchdown receptions in the country. I mean, to me, I don't think Tennessee's got enough stout defense to be able to keep up with that, especially at West Virginia. Now, big ACC matchup. It's going to perhaps decide what happens in the ACC, especially down the road. Virginia Tech versus Florida State. So who you got?
I'm going to go with the Seminoles. I mean, they're kind of playing right there in their backyard pretty much. So, Virginia Tech's a good team.
Yeah, and on the up and up, too.
Yeah, but I just don't think they got it in for Florida. I think Florida's going to have a good year. I would consider this being a rebuilding year for them after what happened with last season.
Right.
So I think they can bounce back. The only way they can go is up from here.
That's true.
I'm going for Florida State.
Yeah, I think we're all in accordance here. We're all taking the Seminoles. I mean, you said it, Russell. Last year was kind of an anomaly for them. They lost their quarterback in the first game of the year against you guys, and I think it just kind of put them in a tailspin, and they just kind of punted the rest of the season. This year's going to be completely different. They got a new coach. They got a new system. They're going to throw the ball all over the place. I look for them to beat Virginia Tech. So I think that's it, isn't it, for our picks? Now, something else that we're going to do in the upcoming college football season, we got some things called Locked In, which we're going to make some picks on games with teams that we are locked in. We think that they're going to win 100%, and then we're also going to make some upset alerts. So, Russell, who you got locked in?
Well, I don't think it's no surprise who I'm picking to
Yeah.
lock in here. Alabama is going to wipe the floor with Louisville.
You don't think it'll be close?
After the past couple of years where Alabama has played these opening games, usually neutral site, they can walk away with it by second or third quarter.
All right, you're probably right. I just wanted to give you some flags. I know they're losing Lamar Jackson, but who you got, Jeremy, locked in?
I got the Georgia Bulldogs. They can come out of the doghouse and sick on those Austin Pay.
Yeah. I don't think Georgia will have their second team and third team in before halftime.
Yeah,
in that
second,
game.
third string gonna be, or even fourth string gonna be,
Yeah.
and freshmen probably gonna
They'll
play.
have the student section in there
Yeah.
playing. Same on my game. I got the Clemson Tigers over Furman. I don't even know what Furman's mascot is. And I'm like 90% sure that Furman's in South Carolina.
The good thing about Clemson and Georgia is that they get to actually test out their second and third string when these teams
Yeah.
start off from the get-go. So I think that's going to be good for them and beneficial for them as we move on throughout the season.
Absolutely. And, getting back to what we were talking about at the start of this, this will obviously give Clemson a chance to try out Kelly Bryant, put Trevor Lawrence in there right after him, and maybe do some comparison shopping and see who plays the best. Now, obviously, Furman's not going to give you that in much trouble, but nonetheless, I think we're going to find out a lot about Clemson, especially under center, by Sunday. So, all right, and then we got upsets. Who you got for your upset alert?
I've got Brigham Young taking on Arizona, and Brigham Young's going to take them over. I think they're playing this game in Arizona. I think that's where it's going to be the upset at, so I'm taking Brigham.
And before we came on, I was giving you a little flack about that, but that would be an upset, and I'll tell you why, because Khalil Tate is Arizona's quarterback, and he's coming in with a lot of Heisman hype around him, so that would definitely be an upset if BYU were to win that game. Who you got?
I got James Madison, known to be a D2 school, will defeat the Wolfpack. I'm sorry, I'm not a Wolfpack fan. It's gonna be a heartbreaking for y'all on Saturday. James Madison gonna get you.
Yeah, and it would have been maybe a little bit easier to make that pick if Dante Miller would have ended up going there or staying there. But yeah, I mean, look, you're right. James Madison's D2, but nonetheless, they're one of the top D2 teams. And you see this every once in a while when these teams like South Dakota State came out and beat Iowa or something a couple years ago. So it's not that unfathomable. And we mentioned Bradley Chubb. He got drafted.
Yeah.
That's one of your top defensive guys.
Yeah.
He's gone from that line. Naheem Hines, your do-it-all back. He got drafted. He's
Yeah.
gone. So that very well could happen. And then my pick, I got another ACC team perhaps losing, Tulane over Wake Forest. And just a couple notes here. Tulane actually has 9 starters back on offense that averaged almost 28 points a game last year. So the other big thing here, Wake Forest has a pretty good team, but they're starting their backup quarterback because their starting quarterback, Kendall Hinton, has a 3-game suspension. So upset alert, Wake
I love how
Forest.
you guys take the North Carolina teams to be upset on.
Hey man, we just
Hey, I can't help it.
we just take what's out there. you know?
Yeah, there you go.
But we all could be right, we all could be wrong, we all could be half and half. I don't know, we'll see. But I'm expecting to have the most points by the time we come back next week.
No, we'll see about that one.
All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for our college football talk. When we come back, we've got plenty of NASCAR to talk about with Russell. We'll hit that when we come back to the RO Sports Show.
At Kyocera, we see your company differently. We see your documents, how they're accessed, what it takes to keep them secure, and how well your workflow is flowing.
Kyocera helps your entire document infrastructure run more efficiently, securely, and cost-effectively.
And what we see is an opportunity to integrate all of it.
And welcome back to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. Time to hit the racetrack. And what you want to start with first? Truck Series?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Truck Series because Cup Series not raced this past weekend.
Right.
So Truck Series and Xfinity Series both had a week all to themselves. Xfinity Series was down in up in Wisconsin over at Road America, but Truck Series was a little bit more north, and they're actually on the other side. They're over in Canada, the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and we had a wild race this past Sunday. They actually resulted in the first and second place drivers taking each other out,
Really?
teammates,
Oh, no.
and they took each other out in the final turn. And third place came through, which was Justin Haley came through and took checker flag.
Now, was he someone that is one of the up-and-comers? Or, I mean, is he one of the guys that was expected to be up there?
Yeah, he's actually one of the drivers that are in the playoffs. So
Okay.
him winning that race now advances him into the next round. And for him, he's got 5 playoff points to him, which is going to carry out through each round until the final 4. They're the 2 guys that took each other out. They were Noah Gragson, who actually dominated for the most part of the race, and then Todd Gillian, who actually led towards the end of it. We had a caution, late caution, which bunched them all back up together, which allowed Gragson to catch him. And then these 2 are both Kyle Busch teammates, so Kyle Busch has his own truck team. So I thought it was kind of interesting that those 2 got together. I wonder how the team met on Monday.
Right.
But I believe it was Noah Gragson. I think he came out and apologized, but Todd Gillian, he was really furious about it, so
Yeah.
understandably.
Yeah, I can see something on the graphic just barely that says, I'd go fight him right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's obviously one of Kyle Busch's guys, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
They learned from up top. So it's talking about the playoffs. Where does that stand as far as the Truck Series?
So Justin Haley, like I said, he's already clinched for the next round, so he'll be making it into right now. There's 8 drivers in the playoffs, but 2 of them are going to be eliminated in the next 2 races. So right now we're looking at Ben Rose and Grant Enfinger at the bottom. Stuart Friesen, Matt Crafton, they're on the up right now. There's about 2-point difference in the cutoff line, so there's not a big gap. So anything can happen. Of course, this is only 3 races. They're like little shootouts for each one.
Yeah.
So if Matt Crafton wrecks out one race, he has a lot to build up for the next one. Johnny Sauter he continues to be the points leader. Of course, he has 42 playoff points, which he collected throughout the regular season. Those 42 points are going to play with him each round. So he's pretty much sure bet to go all the way through for the entire the playoffs until the championship 4.
So they were in Canada this week.
Mm-hmm.
Just out of curiosity, does the Series Cup ever go to Canada to race?
I don't think NASCAR has been outside the U.S. in a good number of years, actually.
Yeah.
They've been to Japan before, and I want to say they've been somewhere in Europe.
They've been to Mexico too, haven't
They've
they?
been in Mexico.
Yeah.
There's actually a really cool track down there that they've been to. They show up with big numbers down there.
Oh, yeah.
Canadian Tire Motorsport, they had a huge bunch of fans come out there. Canadians love racing just as much as we do. So it was really cool watching that race because both of them are road courses. That one there, as well as Road America that the Xfinity Series raced on, both of them put on a good show.
So moving on, talking about the playoffs, what's up next for the Truck Series?
They're going to go to Las Vegas. They actually got a break right now. They will not be racing for, I think, a couple of weeks now. So they'll meet back up with the Cup Series when they go out there to start their playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that track. I think they go there usually, but I think typically it's a night race. And Las Vegas doesn't do a whole lot of night racing, so it's going to be a lot of fun to watch that. Truck Series does a lot more night racing than the Cup Series because they get the race on Friday. So Friday night is always a good time for that.
Cool. Now, you mentioned the Xfinity Series at the top of the segment. Last week you talked about how Bill Elliott was going to be racing in that. And, of course, people around here obviously know who Bill Elliott is. One of the old school guys raced here at the Rock. How did he end up doing?
He did pretty good all day. He actually got pretty close to the top. I want to say he finished 17th. He said in post-race, he got banged up a lot in the race, but he said post-race he thinks he hit everything but the lottery in that race. So, that was something classic that Bill Elliott would say. So it was cool seeing him back. He actually had the race with the rookie stripes on, though, because he had never raced before at Road America. So Chase Elliott was actually one of his spotters in the race, too. They actually flipped the roles there because over at Watkins Glen, Chase Elliott, he had Bill for a spotter, so son helping out his father in that. So it was pretty cool watching that.
And, so Bill Elliott obviously used to be in NASCAR. By the way, when you told me that he had to have the stripes, I kind of laughed out loud because I'm like, he's old enough to be most of these guys'
Yeah.
dad at least, But anyway, so NASCAR, the big guys are heading towards Darlington, which not too
Yeah.
far from here. So what do you expect to see there?
Yeah, about an hour drive from here. Darlington, the Lady in Black.
Yeah.
The track too tough to tame. So I can see a lot happening here with Toyota. Toyota can dominate towards the end of this race quite a lot. They've got 6 wins in I think the past 5 years, or not 5 years, 10 years. I think Chevrolet could play a factor in as well, considering they're also finally starting to come up now. But I feel like Denny Hamlin's going to get the job done. He did it last year. He knows the track really good. Martin Truex Jr. might be another factor in it. I could see him winning. I would like to see somebody other than the big 3 win this week.
I think everyone would, except for maybe their fans.
Yeah. But I think the big spotlight on Darlington this week is the fact that NASCAR is throwing it back this week.
Right.
Every time they go to Darlington for, I think this might be the 3rd or 4th year they've done it now. They take all the drivers from the Cup Series and Xfinity Series. They actually throw back some old paint schemes from way back in the day, from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. One of them, Joe Logano actually has a cool one. He's got the Pennzoil car. But Steve Park. Now, Steve Park was actually one of the drivers who's won at Rockingham. Okay. If you remember, after Dale Earnhardt passed away, Steve Park won that race at Rockingham, the race after that. So it was a big moment for a lot of people. He raced that same paint scheme then, and Logano's going to be racing that one, so I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and of course, you sent me a list, and the one that I specifically remember was Jeff Gordon. Of course, this isn't it, but the Rainbow Warrior.
Yeah, that was cool. And I'm actually going to be driven in the Xfinity Series. So I think Xfinity Series finally, they picked up on it, I think, last year. They didn't start off immediately, but everything goes back. I mean, you're going to see the old trucker hats back out there. People are going to be growing mullets out. You're going to see the TV booths. They're going to change everything, all the logos and graphics. And
a couple that I would like to see. One would be the Wonder Bread car from Talladega Nights. I'd like to see somebody get out there and have that one. The other one would be, and it's going to drive me crazy because I grew up on this movie, but Days of Thunder, the one that Tom Cruise's character drove, the mellow yellow car.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a couple of those schemes come back.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Just as throwbacks. So keep that in mind, NASCAR. I'm working for you. But yeah, is that it for NASCAR?
That is pretty much it. The race is going to be 6 p.m. on Sunday night. So, of course, we got Labor Day, so they can race on Sunday night.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun. I would like to get some tickets to go down there, but I wasn't able to. But we've got a race coming up very soon that we're going to go to.
Yeah, the end of next month.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to Charlotte. So
the Roval.
That's right. Yeah. In case you forgot. Maybe they'll let us back on one of these days. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. Well, that's going to do it for NASCAR. Appreciate it, Russell. When we come back from the break, our last break, we're going to finish the show the same way we always do with our big impacts of the week. Take a look at our Ross poll, which you can find every Monday night on the RO Sports Show's Facebook page. And, of course, love it or hate it. All that more when we come back to the RO Sports Show.
Willow Tree Antiques and Gifts is all about rustic home decor and gifts. You will always find a variety of unique antiques, vintage, and new items in our shop. Come and see our selection of housewarming, new baby, and wedding gifts. For the man in your life, we have many collectibles, Boker knives, and leather. And ladies love the jewelry, purses, candles, hats, and t-shirts. We also offer a 30-day layaway program. Come and experience shopping at Willow Tree Antiques and Gifts.
Welcome back to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. Final segment, guys. Let's finish the way we always do. Start with our big impacts of the week, brought to you by Richmond Community College, whose motto is local college, big impact. Who you got for your big impact this week, Russell?
I've got Richmond Young Professionals and City of Rockingham. They came together and they've got this golf course built over at Henson Lake. They got it all set up. They're in a couple weeks. They'll be officially ready to go.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that. I cannot wait. I've never done disc golf before, but it sounds like a lot of fun. I think they got all 18 holes. And I can't wait to do it.
Me too. I love disc golf to the point where I have like a full set. I probably have too many discs. So if anybody needs to borrow some, let me know. Jeremy, you got for your big impact?
Congratulations to the tennis team on earning their second conference win, 7-1 over Jack Britt. Again, congratulations to the tennis team.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting an SAC win, of course. Keeping with the Raider love, my big impact this week is the Raiders men's soccer team, who got a win 4-1 This was actually Chris Larson. He's the new coach for them. This was his first, not only victory this year, but first career victory. So, of course, congratulations to him, and, of course, congratulations to the men's soccer team. Now, moving on, taking a look at our Ross poll, which, of course, we do every Monday night, and you get on the conversation, looking up the hashtag Ross poll. It's on the RO Sports Show's Facebook page each Monday night. So this week we put up, of course, school started this week, which means college football is back. As we know, we talked about it quite a bit tonight. Once again, Alabama's starting the season as number 1. So we asked you, will they end the season that way? And actually, most people were thinking that it's going to be a different team at number 1 by the time the year's over with.
More
right now,
haters and-
65% say a different team will be there. 35% saying there's going to be another Bama championship.
There's just more haters in the world.
Oh, yeah, we're going to win another one.
Let me take a big sigh before I ask this. What do you guys think?
What do you think, Jeremy?
I think we're going to win another title.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be a different team. More than likely one that wears purple and orange. But
keep dreaming.
I mean, 2 years ago, y'all wouldn't have said that either, right? ACC, baby. Woo!
SEC.
Anyway.
Oh,
Roll
yeah.
Tide. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Yeah, roll on out the door. So that's going to do it for our Ross poll. And again, you can get in on the conversation and let us know. That's still, just because the poll's over with, you can still go on there if you think you want to put in who you think will end up at the end of the year. Could be, I think somebody mentioned Penn State to us before. Could be Ohio State. Could be somebody from the Big 12. We don't know. They all got to lay it out.
Or you can go on there and say that we're wrong and we'll prove you right.
Say they're wrong. They got to lay it out to play it out, as they like to say. So, guys, let's move on to the final segment. Love it or hate it. Got quite a few to work through here. First up, a little baseball news, sort of. So, the Astros starting pitcher, Justin Verlander, one of the best in the world, best on the planet, last year pretty much dominated the Dodgers in the National League, or rather in the World Series. So, he's eating in L.A. at a place for lunch, and his waiter charges him $1 million on his ticket for what he calls a Dodger killer. Now, obviously, he didn't have to pay the $1 million, but just the fun of it, love it or hate it.
I love it because that's kind of funny to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to say love it, but did you see how much he paid for all the other food? Like, it's like $35 for a salad or something like that. That's like crazy.
Dude, Verlander makes like $20 million a year.
He could have paid for the whole restaurant.
He could have paid the $1 million if he wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, for all we know, he might have and just said donate it to charity or something, Anyway, so new French Open dress code. I know we don't talk about tennis a lot here, but the French Open's going on now. And they implemented a new dress code, I guess, that's going to prohibit Serena Williams from wearing that black skin-tight catsuit that she's been known to wear recently. Love it or hate it?
I gotta hate it because she looks sexy in it.
Yes, she does. Love it or hate it?
I'm going to hate it because I don't feel like it's hurting anything. I mean, it's just now. I mean, yeah.
I'm going to say hate it, and I'm going to say ditto and ditto. Moving on. So, as we know now, OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., has agreed to a new 5-year, $95 million extension. Makes him the highest-paid wide receiver. Love it or hate it?
I love it. Keep making those one-handed catches and surprise me.
All right.
I'm going to say love it too.
I'm going to say hate it, and I'll tell you why. He's a good wide receiver. I don't know that he's as good as Antonio Brown or perhaps Julio Jones, somebody like that.
Or Mike Evans.
Yeah, or Mike Evans. But he seems to be a little injury prone, and I know that this is going to be one of those prove-it seasons, or we thought it would be before they signed him. I don't know. I just am afraid that that $65 million that they guaranteed out of this, they're going to end up eating some of that. So that's just my opinion. Now, something that's near and dear to your heart. Manu Ginobili finally calling it quits after 16 seasons with your San Antonio Spurs. Love it or hate it?
It kind of go both ways.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to love it because thank you for the memories for those 16 years that you brought the Big Three into the Mavs win 4 championships during your career. And also I'm going to hate it because, for one, you're leaving my Spurs, man.
Yeah, it's the end of an era.
It's the end of an era.
Love it or hate it?
I'm going to say love it. He's been with them forever, right?
Yeah.
16 years.
Yeah, so I'm going to say love it because they gave a lot of years to one team. That's the loyalty, so I'm going to say love it on that.
I'm going to say love it, too. I mean, after 16 seasons, you've put in all you can put in, you know.
Yeah.
And you mentioned all the accolades. Hall of Famer?
First ballot Hall of Famer.
First ballot, yeah.
2-time Hall of Famer, 4-time NBA champion.
I think so, too. And obviously, Duncan retired a couple of years ago. Ginobili's finally retiring. Tony Parker might as well retire going to the Hornets. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
But, he's only maybe 1 or 2 years out from retiring. So it is the end of an era. I hate to see a guy like Ginobili go because he's basically been playing with the Spurs since I was almost in high school.
Yeah.
So, anyway, congratulations to him. Hope he enjoyed retirement. Now, moving on to football. Des Bryant, still unsigned, and the NFL starts very, very soon. Says he's likely going to wait a little bit later before he signs. Love it or hate it?
I'm going to say hate it because for the simple fact reason is you got all this talent, all what you can do, and Cleveland looking at you. Why not take the opportunity and sign with him?
All right.
I'm gonna say love it.
I'm going to say love it too. And the reason I say that is I think what he's waiting on is for somebody to get hurt. You know, and it happens every year. And sometimes it happens to one of the top guys in the league.
Yeah.
And I think perhaps maybe he's waiting on that and somebody will take a flyer on him. I mean, Des still has skills. I'm sure he's still working out, just not with an NFL team. So, but I get what you're saying. Speaking of football, speaking of the Cowboys, Jerry Jones has come out and says that he wants 18 regular season games and 2 preseason games. He says it'll be safer for football players. Love it or hate it?
I hate it.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of hate it too. I think we all gonna love that. Well, I mean, I think we could shorten the preseason week. I think there's too many for that. But,
yeah, I think in his mind he was thinking. By the way, I'm gonna say hate it, but he's thinking, all right, less preseason games will make it safer, but you're adding 2 regular season games, so there's still contact.
I know why. He wants to get the boys, go Cowboys into the playoffs. That's what it is.
No, I know what it is.
That money.
He wants money because they obviously make more money off of regular season games than they do preseason games.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think this is more of a money grab than anything. When it comes to a violent game like football, how can playing more games be safer? I'm not sure exactly what
especially
it's
if you want to add 2 more games. Those last 2 games are probably going to be very high, intensity. So anything can happen. It just makes it even worse for you.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what his thinking is there. But again, I mean, obviously that won't have any effect this season. They'll come back next year and look at that. Urban Meyer, keeping it with football. Of course, we know he got suspended for 3 games. Some people are indifferent. Some people think he got off with a slap on the wrist. I'm kind of more on that side of it. But he was actually allowed to meet with his Buckeye players and have a meeting a day after he got suspended. Love it or hate it?
I'm going to say love it because at least you can go in there and give your players some kind of motivation to win in his absence.
Right.
I'm going to say hate it because he's not supposed to be part of his team for the next 3 weeks. So.
Yeah, that was kind of my thinking. If you're suspended, you're suspended. You're supposed to stay away from any team activities because if the players got suspended, they'd have to do that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think, of course, Urban being Urban. And, I mean, the NCAA know about this, and they still allow it. So it just kind of goes to show you, and we've talked about this so many times, about how the NCAA wields zero power. I understand they suspended him, but he doesn't care. Those first 3 games, I don't know who they've got. I don't think they're playing anybody worth talking about. They're probably going to be 3-0. They won't miss a beat. Aaron Rodgers, of course, now the highest paid player in the league, I think. He should be at least. Got a new deal this week as well. Astronomical numbers here. 4 years, $134 million extension. It could be with incentives moved all the way up to $180 million, but $103 million guaranteed. Love it or hate it?
Love it. He worth proving. Won a Super Bowl already. He just putting up numbers and try to be in the Hall of Fame someday.
I'm going to say love it. He is packing that bank account.
Yeah, Green Bay packed.
I love it too. I mean, you can make a case that he's the best in the league. Maybe Brady. Brady's 41, getting up there. By the time this is over, Rodgers will just then be 40. You've got him locked up still in his prime. When we look back, 6 years from now, then this may be a deal. The way that money's going up and up and up. So I'm gonna say love that. Sticking with the NFL, Teddy Bridgewater. He was backing up at the Jets. Most of us didn't think he had a shot at starting there, but he's been traded to the Saints. He's obviously not going to start there either, I don't think. But love it or hate it?
I'm gonna love it. Learn from the best of the business, Drew Brees.
Right.
Love it.
I love it too. He had no chance. I mean, Sam Darnold was going to be the man in New York, I think, and I think that's the way they're leaning. It never hurts to have somebody that's been a starter. I mean, when Bridgewater was starting for the Vikings, he was serviceable.
Made a Pro Bowl appearance.
Yeah, and if something happens to Drew Brees, I think he'll be a great backup for them. So I got no problem with that. And then finally, going back to college, if you watched last weekend, Colorado State, Hawaii, which was 2 of the bigger programs that played in the first week. Usually there's not many big-time schools. But there was a play where, was it Hawaii, I believe? They took a snap. Everybody moved except the center, and the ref says, false start. He literally says, everyone but the center. So, love it or hate it.
I'm going to love it. It's too funny.
Oh, well, but man, you can't make them mistakes.
I love it, too. And the funny thing about it is, I guess the funniest thing about it is that the center was the only one who messed up the snap count, and the rest of the team got punished for it. So that's football 101.
Well, at least they only got 1 5-yard penalty for it.
Yeah. And again, that stuff happens, especially in the first game of the season. You're trying to work out stuff like that. So I'm sure they'll figure it out.
This
before.
isn't the first time it's happened though. With Hawaii, I think this might be their second.
By them
Yeah,
or just
I think
in
back
general.
I think back in 2010 they had one as well.
Come on, Warriors. Y'all got to get it together. But that's going to do it, guys. Finishing up another RO Sports Show. Of course, we appreciate everyone for watching and listening. And there's so many ways you can do that. YouTube, the app, Classic Rock if you want to listen. Of course, you can get us on Facebook. All these different ways you can find us. And, of course, it's all free. So, once again, Jeremy McKenzie, Russell Parker, I'm Matt Harrelson. We'll see you guys right back here at 5:30 on Thursday. Have a great week.